The GH1, I love this camera. And yes, it's a gold camera. It is the golden camera GH1. I got the gold because I wanted people to know that this was not a 5D Mark II. This was not a 7D. This was something unique, something strange, something a little bit different. I don't know. I just like the gold. It's kind of cool. Back in the GH1 days, there was also a red GH1. Panasonic stopped doing this with the Lumix cameras, but I thought it was kind of cool, the different color schemes. And now you have red and the Komodo making all sorts of crazy colors. So maybe it's back in style now, the different colored cameras. I don't know. Maybe the GH1 was ahead of its time, and the gold was just, it was too soon. Too soon, Panasonic. Anyway, I want to talk about the GH1 and just this camera. Like, it's really kind of cool how far we've come since 2008 is when this thing was announced, or 2009. Let's read. The Panasonic GH1 was the second Micro Four Third camera introduced under the Micro Four Third design standard, and the first Micro Four Third camera to include HD video recording capability. That was the big claim at the time: full HD video recording on Micro Four Third, which was really kind of game-changing in a lot of ways. It was around the same time as the 5D Mark II, and that took all the spotlight. Every filmmaker, every cinematographer knew about the 5D Mark II, but this little guy was the little engine that could. Let's see, I'm pretty sure it says in here when they announced it. I think it was 2008 or 2009, but it's been, oh, see here. The GH1 was announced at the April 2009 Photo Marketing Association Annual Convention and Trade Show. So we're 10 years past the GH1, and oh, how far we have come. When announced in March 2009, hey, that contradicts what we just read. They said it was April. Someone should get up on this Wikipedia. The Panasonic GH1 was marketed as a new class of creative HD hybrid camera. And then the hybrid GH1 was designed from the ground up to not only take still photos, but perhaps even more importantly, full HD video, including manual controls over many video functions. This ties into like a lot of the stuff we're talking about nowadays. Even 10 years later, we're talking about video hybrids, control over video features. The GH1 was also the first consumer-priced interchangeable lens camera to also offer continuous autofocus capability while shooting HD video. Oh, how interesting that is, and how Panasonic gets such a bad reputation for their bad autofocus, and yet the GH1 was the first consumer-priced interchangeable lens camera to offer continuous autofocus while shooting HD video. Fun fact. Let's scroll through here. There's tons of other stuff you can read about the GH1. It has its own Wikipedia page. Isn't that awesome? Body colors and MSRP. Ooh, the camera was available in 3 colors: black, red, and gold. Gold. Lovely. In the United States, initial MSRP was $1,500. Can you imagine? $1,500. We're talking about a $2,000 S5 nowadays. Or, you know, what do we got? I think the GH5 was only like $1,800 or $1,600. Like, the prices haven't gone up all that much, considering how much the features have improved over the years. Let's see, let's go down here. The really interesting thing about the GH1 was P-Tool. So it's non-Panasonic. P-Tool, it was developed by Vitaly Kiselev, who actually still has personalview.com. If you've never been over here, it's a really interesting forum. You can check out a lot of stuff. Vitaly's a Russian hacker, notorious for hacking the GH1 and unlocking all these features with P-Tool, but does have a website, personal-view.com, if you want to check it out. Interesting place. Anyway, P-Tool can be allows. Man, whoever wrote this, let's get some updates on here, please. P-Tool allows users to remove certain firmware restrictions and change video encoding parameters. Users have collaborated in developing and testing settings known as patches, which enhance the video capabilities of the GH1, enabling faster bit rates and improved video quality. This was what set the GH1 apart. The video mode at the beginning was kind of muddy, kind of gross. The bit rates were pretty low. And because of P-Tool, people were able to make these patches for the camera, and it was basically some of the most fun stuff ever, figuring out, okay, like which patch, like whose patch are you using, like installing the camera. Oh, this one, you know, it kind of errors out this way, but this one's great and unlocks all these other features. It's so cool. And it's just a fun, playful time. In the same way that Magic Lantern has been for the Canon cameras, P tool was kind of like that for the GH1 and for the GH2. Since then, it's kind of, faded away, and the GH4 and GH5 don't really, aren't hacked apart, but definitely a fun time tinkering with these cameras and trying to just get the most out of them. Speculation on internet discussion forums advances the theory that Panasonic purposely restricted the capabilities of the GH1 for fear that the low-cost consumer-grade camera would begin to encroach on the capabilities of its more expensive professional video equipment. This is maybe somewhat valid. Maybe someone somewhere in a meeting said something like this, but I think for the most part, the Lumix side of things is separate from the Panasonic cinema line stuff. And I really think at the time, you got to remember, first Micro Four Third camera to do video, right? They're thinking they're thinking people are going to use this to shoot just home videos, family, friends, holidays, dogs, cats, that sort of thing. And people at the time with the 5D Mark II and then with the GH1 it was really about the independent filmmakers, the film students, the people who were like, wait, I can get a big digital sensor in a $1,500 camera body? That's incredible. And so those are the people that I think, they didn't really quite expect, for this to take off, and kind of maybe misread the market at the time, because the Lumix cameras have significantly shifted more, catering to that audience over time. So it's just interesting to see how things evolve. And I don't really get the sense that they're, crippling these cameras too much in favor of the high-end Panasonic stuff. They just don't seem to even be much of the same audience. I don't really know anyone that shoots with like a GH5 and a VariCam. It's just, I don't really know of such a thing. I'm sure there's some people out there like that, but it seem like very different markets to me. Panasonic has not endorsed P-Tool nor the patches, and certain versions of the firmware, notably 1.3, made the camera unhackable. That is until about May 2011, when users developed a workaround. A P-Tool is not for the faint of heart. A careless installation can brick the camera, rendering it totally inoperable. That's never happened to me. So, just be smart. If you're hacking around with your, cameras and firmware and stuff, like, don't do anything dumb, but it never bricked my camera. So, GH1 compared to GH5, you can see, like, for the most part, they haven't changed all that much. GH1 is a little smaller. I think GH5 feels a little bit better, kind of bigger, bulkier, easier to hold, but look at this. Way back, over 10 years ago. Hey, that's a flip screen. Look at that. They did it. Lumix, you did it. Well done. Mission accomplished. You can flip a screen. You can look at it this way. You can look at it this way. Any which way. You can do selfies with the GH1. Imagine that. Sony finally catching up all these years later with the A7S III. Finally, Sony. You figured it out. And Panasonic, don't ever go away from this. This is the best functionality. If it could just keep rotating indefinitely, like, that'd be the best. But for what it is, it's pretty good. Microphone built in, although it probably should if it's recording video. Got so much cool stuff. It's just a fun camera. Only one SD card slot though. Only one. We're up to 2 now. Most cameras. I think it's fun. It's cool. It's just unique in the way that it changed things for me and the projects that I've worked on. GH1 got me interested in the GH cameras, because you could hack it, and made me more inclined to stick with the GH cameras in the long run. And because Panasonic maintained that through like the GH2, the GH3, the GH4, GH5, constantly increasing the kind of, the initial mindset of what this camera was supposed to be, this kind of creative HD hybrid. Well, now we have a creative 4K hybrid, but that mantra, that mindset of making a really good hybrid camera that does photo and video and doing them both professionally. I think that's the thing that's lost on a lot of people with these hybrid style cameras. Like, well, it's a professional photography tool, but why can't it be a professional video tool at the same time? Why is one inherently limited? Oh, it's a photography camera, so it can't be for video. If you want a real video camera, go buy one. It's not a hybrid. But this is a real photography camera. Professionals use cameras like this, like all sorts of sizes. And why can't they be professional video tools as well? I think that's why Panasonic has gotten a lot right with these cameras over the years, because I think they've intentionally and smartly, strategically focused on both, catering to both audiences, and making cameras that appeal to both professionals who shoot video, which I would include myself in that, as well as professionals who take pictures, photographers. There's a lot of overlap there. A lot of similar techniques and styles, and just the ability to hold a camera like this and have it look good. It's very functional to take photos this way, but it's also really nice to take videos this way and just hold it, or for vlogging now, that's become like such a thing, and just home videos that are much more advanced and cinematic than home videos ever were in the past. So much of that is thanks to these cameras. I mean, could you imagine YouTube if we were still shooting on camcorders? It would just be so weird and different. Like, because cinema features became so commonplace in basically every camera, it makes sense that YouTube is the way it is now and being very cinematic, even for home movies and gear reviews and just what people are putting out there. These really did change things in so many ways. The DSLR revolution changed so much about how content was produced and then how content was consumed. And I'm thankful for Canon at the time with the 5D Mark II doing it, and Panasonic with the GH1 and thinking creatively and making a true hybrid.